Your great-grandfather carried things in his coat pocket that would get you arrested today. We have tracked down 8 of those forgotten weapons, from everyday tools hiding sharpened blades to hand-forged pocket pistols built by mountain gunsmiths. Each one was carried openly across Appalachia, then quietly erased by changing laws, lost trades, and a world that moved on. Starting at number 8, a common repair tool no one would suspect. Number 8, the multi-use household tool with a hidden blade, a cobbler's awl or shoe peg tool that doubled as a last-ditch weapon. In many Appalachian cabins, a man kept his awl handy for leather work or mending boots, but some of these tools concealed a sharpened shaft beneath a removable handle. Tucked into an apron pocket or slipped into a waistcoat, the awl looked like any other piece of workshop gear. But in the hands of a mountain craftsman, that hidden steel could become a point of defense when trouble came calling. As mechanized shoe repair and factory-made goods took over after 1900, these handmade tools faded from daily life, and the skill to craft or spot one slipped away. Today, museum cobbler kits rarely show the old sharpened shafts, and the knowledge lives mostly in foxfire interviews and blacksmith stories. Remembering these disguised tools means honoring a time when survival depended on turning the ordinary into the unexpected. Number 7, the belt buckle knuckles hides its true nature in plain sight. At first glance, it's just a sturdy stamped steel or brass buckle forged to hold up a man's trousers on a long day in the mountains, but a closer look reveals a hinge slot shaped for 3 fingers, turning the buckle into a fistful of metal at a moment's notice. Some versions even tucked a small blade inside, making it both a punching tool and a backup knife. Men wore these buckles every day, blending them into their work clothes so well that even a sheriff might miss the danger hanging from a simple leather belt. The real genius lay in the disguise. Hardware could pass any barn dance or church service, but swing into action if a feud or a robbery broke out. As state laws cracked down on metallic knuckles and police seized more hidden weapons, most of these buckles vanished, melted down, or buried in barns to avoid a trip to jail. Today, collectors hunt for surviving examples, but most are gone, erased by the very laws meant to keep folks safe. Remembering these buckles means remembering how Appalachian men turned everyday gear into silent insurance, and how easily that knowledge can slip away. Number 6, the slungshot or weighted chain speaks to the miner's knack for turning scraps into survival tools. In the coal camps of Kentucky and West Virginia, a slungshot meant a short length of rawhide or braided horsehair looped for the fingers and finished with a 2 or 3-inch ball of forged iron or lead. Old miners would salvage chain links from busted pit equipment, hammer them into a heavy orb, and stitch on a cord strong enough to swing with force. One flick of the wrist could send that weight cracking into bone. It was a weapon built for blunt defense, not show. The slungshot's power lay in its simplicity. Nothing sharp, just momentum and steel. Newspaper reports as far back as 1855 list slingshots right alongside brass knuckles in the outlawed category, and by the late 1800s, city ordinances across Appalachia named them specifically as forbidden weapons. Foxfire interviews remember miners keeping one tucked in a jacket pocket or hanging in the tool shed just in case a payday dispute turned ugly. The law came down hard, but the memory lingers, proof that Appalachian men could make a weapon out of whatever the ground gave up. Remembering the slungshot means seeing the grit and improvisation that once defined mountain life, and how easily that kind of knowledge can vanish from the record. Number 5, brass knuckles with twin blades stand out as a weapon both feared and respected in old Appalachia. Forged in backyard sand molds from melted down plumbing scrap, these knuckles weighed close to 3/4 of a pound, heavy enough to leave a mark. The real danger came from the 2 knife blades, each about 4 inches long, brazed right onto the frame. With one punch, a man could deliver both blunt force and a cutting edge, making this tool twice as deadly as a simple fist load. Foxfire interviews from Tennessee describe how moonshiners and feudists favored these knuckles, casting them in secret and polishing the brass until it shone like gold. By the 1880s, newspaper arrest lists showed a spike in men caught carrying metallic knuckles with blades, and local laws rushed to ban them outright. The stigma stuck. Owning a pair marked a man as trouble, and most were hidden or destroyed when the law came knocking. Today, a set of patina-worn brass knuckles with blade stubs is a rare find in any collection, a silent witness to a time when self-defense meant making your own rules. Remembering these pieces is a way of honoring the grit and ingenuity that shaped mountain life and the hard lessons modern law has tried to bury. Number 4. The sewn-in boot knife belonged to a world where a man's defenses traveled with him right down to his boots. Appalachian blacksmiths would start with a strip of spring steel, hammering out a double-beveled blade just shy of 6 inches, then temper it until it held a razor edge. A nickel-silver washer served as a simple guard, and the finished blade weighed about 8 ounces, light enough for daily wear, heavy enough to matter if things turned rough. The real trick came in the concealment, a leather sheath stitched directly into the boot's inner cuff, so the knife rode hidden against the calf, invisible to all but its owner. Foxfire interviews recall men sewing these sheaths by hand using saddle needles and wax thread, the stitches buried in the seams where no sheriff or rival would ever think to look. Unlike a belt knife or pocket blade, this weapon was part of your body, always there but never seen. As mass-produced boots and stricter laws spread through the mountains, the craft of making and carrying a sewn-in boot knife faded. Today, finding an original means searching for the faintest stitch marks in old leather or listening to the stories passed down in family kitchens. Remembering the sewn-in boot knife is a way of honoring the hands that forged, stitched, and carried their own quiet insurance against a hard world. Number 3. The probate documented pocket derringer stands apart as the first weapon on this list, with a paper trail that links it directly to an ordinary Appalachian owner. In Ashe County, North Carolina, a probate ledger from the late 1800s lists a pocket pistol, a derringer, .41 caliber, cap ignition with a 4.5-inch barrel among the personal effects of a local farmer. That single line on a fading estate page does more than prove the weapon existed. It anchors the derringer not as a gunsmith's rumor or a collector's relic, but as a tool carried in a vest pocket, counted right alongside a man's watch and wedding band. The classic derringer of the period was a percussion-capped single shot, small enough to disappear in the palm, with a barrel just over 4 inches and an overall length that fit any waistcoat. Gun Collectors Club records describe these as .41 caliber, firing a black powder charge strong enough for close defense, but discreet enough to avoid notice. The legal backdrop was harsh. Kentucky's 1813 concealed carry law set a $100 fine for hiding such a pistol, enough to ruin a working man. Yet probate records like this one show that Appalachian men weighed the risk and kept their derringers close, even as the law and changing times tried to erase them. Remembering the probate documented derringer means trusting the evidence of ink and iron and honoring the quiet ways mountain families protected themselves when no one else would. Number 2. The hand-forged mountain pocket pistol stands as a testament to Appalachian ingenuity when factory goods were scarce and cash even scarcer. In the hills of Tennessee and Kentucky, gunsmiths like John Shell made a living by converting whatever metal they could find, including old rifle barrels, surplus revolver cylinders, and scrap iron, into compact pistols meant to slip quietly into a vest or coat pocket. These were no polished showpieces. The iron frames bore hammer marks, the barrels were often cut down to just 3 inches, and the grips were simple walnut shaped more for fit than for looks. A typical example might use a salvaged 5-shot cylinder from a Civil War rifle, reworked into a single-shot pistol loaded with a half charge of black powder. These pocket guns fired a 32 or 41 caliber ball, just enough for close defense if a card game turned sour or a feud came calling. Family stories in the Foxfire books tell how grandfathers tucked these pistols into hand-sewn sheaths, passing them down long after the gunsmiths who made them were gone. But as cheap, mail-order derringers and factory revolvers flooded the region after 1900, the cottage industry of mountain pistols dried up. Today, the few that survive are found in attics or museum drawers, each one a relic of a time when a man's safety depended on the work of a neighbor's hands. Remembering these pistols means remembering a tradition of self-reliance and adaptation that the modern world has nearly forgotten. And finally, in first place, the vest pocket derringer, known to many as grandfather's pocket pistol. This little firearm is the icon of Appalachian concealed carry, a piece as likely to be found in a family Bible box as a coat pocket. Measuring just 5 inches long, with a barrel between 2 and 4 inches, and weighing barely 8 ounces, the derringer was built for one purpose: to disappear into a vest or waistcoat right next to a pocket watch. Most were break-action, single-shot, or two-barrel designs, with brass frames and walnut grips that fit the hand like a handshake from another era. Chambered for 32 or 41 short rimfire with half-grain loads that packed just enough punch for close defense, these pistols were factory-made, but they became Appalachian heirlooms, passed down from father to son, wrapped in a handkerchief or sewn into the lining of a Sunday coat. Outdoor Life and the Smithsonian both hold specimens, a Remington Navy rolling block at the museum, and countless family stories in the hills. The derringer's real magic was its blend of discretion and reliability. A man could slip it into his vest, walk into any church or courthouse, and know he carried a last resort no one else could see. But as state laws cracked down on concealed weapons and cheap factory revolvers flooded the market, the old vest pocket derringer faded from daily life. Today, it is rare to find one outside a display case or a family drawer, but the stories linger, proof that older generations understood the value of being quietly prepared. Remembering the vest pocket derringer is not just nostalgia, it is a reminder of how much practical wisdom can vanish when the world moves on. Across all 8 of these lost weapons, one truth stands out: necessity bred invention, and hard country men trusted what they could hide in a pocket more than any law. Their tools were outlawed, their knowledge nearly erased. That practical wisdom still has lessons for us today. Thanks for watching.